So the short turnaround now again for Ohio State, just what have you kind of seen from them in your day of preparation?
Yeah, obviously they're a really good team. You know, they beat Kentucky on a neutral court. They're 2-5 in our league, and they're 3 possessions away from being 5-2. I think you got to keep that in perspective. Of the games they've lost, you know, their last one in overtime, and the other ones, you know, could have went either way. Very good, you know, individual pieces. You know, they have some younger guys playing and some new guys playing that, you know, obviously that transferred in there. So they're not a team like we have faced where, you know, you see 6 out of the 8 of them are 23 and older, you know, and so like they have, you know, good pieces that are freshmen, that are sophomores, that are juniors, that are seniors. They have a very good balance to their roster. They only lose a couple guys in their rotation. So they're a team that, you know, is, you know, finding themselves, and I think they've had some really high games. They've had a couple games, you know, where they play, you know, teams like that we've played, like Auburn, you know, that is, you know, very, very talented. Then they've had some close games where they've won. They've had some close games, you know, where they've lost. So they have that balance, but they're a very good team. You know, Bruce Thornton is very talented. Mobley's a guy that you have to be aware of it, you know, at all times. You know, just, you know, across the board, you know, they have a good team. They have good athleticism on their front line, good size. They have depth. It's going to be a tough game.
Is there a stylistic identity to them now under Diebler?
Well, they run some good stuff. You know, they play through ball screens. They do some good stuff on pin downs. I like their ISO action. You know, Devin Royal, if he plays in this game, is very good on the interior, but he's good on the perimeter attacking. You know, also, and so I think that's in terms of a style, they do a good job in transition of trying to attack and spread you out. But they run some good stuff in the half court through their ball screen motion and then the different stuff they do there. You know, they run some single away, and they get into their ball screens, or they play off of that, or they play off their ISOs. But I'd say they have a wide range of stuff. He runs good stuff, and he kind of searches you out too. So like he'll go and try to find a matchup, or he'll get to some things that work. You know, like anybody else. Like if they get to some stuff that works, you know, they'll stick with that more.
Bruce Thornton's body is kind of unique.
Right.
What are the challenges of going against a guy that's not only that good but that strong?
Yeah, you know, he can get to his kill spots, and so like he's shifty, he's quick, but he's also physical. So he can get to the basket, he can make pull-up threes, but he can get in the paint, jump stop, and make kind of that reverse pivot shot where he fades away and knocks that down, but also plays off his shot fake and draws fouls, or at that point playing on 2 feet. He will set up other people and spray out threes, but no, just a versatile guard, just a versatile lead guard. That's good, you know, in terms of distributing the ball, but also good in being aggressive and scoring it.
Getting into the second semester for these freshmen, just how do you kind of help them stay on top, balancing the life before they've done it before?
Yeah, you know, that's what you try to hope that, you know, you're organized in the summer in terms of like, you know, just kind of getting accustomed to college. You have a couple classes in the summer, and you obviously have your workouts, you know, you're lifting, you're doing stuff, and it's a mini version of, you know, what's going to hit in the fall. And then in the spring, when, you know, you get, you know, close to a month off, you know, at Christmas break, you know, now like that's probably the toughest part is that you got to go back. So they had to love it, right? They went back for 1 day, then we went to the West Coast, and they missed 4 days of school. So like they think this is beautiful. So they're looking forward to like going and missing 4 days this week, but we have 2 home games, right? So no, you just have to get ahead of it. If you're going to miss school, like missing the first week's probably the best week, even though you want to get off to a good start. Like, you know, you're not going to have something to do normally, you know, at that time, but just getting back in a routine and understanding like it's even more important than, you know, eating right, sleeping right, taking care of your body, you know, doing everything you can from a treatment standpoint, because, you know, right as you get into Florida, into February, you know, you kind of get to that point to where it's like, hey, we kind of got some guys that are banged up, but everybody's banged up, right? Everybody has to go through, especially the high minute guys, you know, with it, but, you know, just trying to do everything possible to help yourself, but you're adding an element. You know, this is what you're here for. You know, you're here to get your education. You're here to go to class and do some things. And sometimes that's difficult when you're missing some things. But if you do your work beforehand, you're going to help you. You're going to help yourself. Like get out. We have a system set up where, you have to get out ahead of your issues. And if you don't, then you're going to be behind the eight ball.
This team's improvement, the last few weeks, it's kind of distinct. You haven't really needed it in past years. Has that just been the result of guys responding in practice from what you've seen?
Yeah, it's hard because once games start, you're doing your work to try to win the next game. And when you start off in practice and you go 6 weeks, the only thing you're trying to do is get ready for the season, but also improve practice to practice and week to week with it. And so now sometimes in that preparation, are we growing? Are we getting better? Because that's how college is different. You're getting better during competition and playing games, but you get better in practice too. But as the season goes on, your practices get shorter and shorter, and that's harder and harder. But you also don't have to always learn through, physical work. You can learn through scouting reports, you can learn through film, you can learn through your experiences in games and having reflection upon that.
You guys have really jumped up in the defensive metrics here over the last 7 or 8 games, and in that time, Caleb's had some really difficult matchups against some top-level scorers in the league.
Right.
What has his defensive versatility meant to you guys?
Yeah, he's allowed us to have a little more size there on the front line. So whether we're playing and dealing with traps in the post, or we're dealing with switches on the perimeter, he allows us that versatility of switching ball screens, coming with a bigger body, and just being able to guard. He can guard a center, but he can switch onto a ball screen with a point guard at times too. And so that versatility, very few guys. Trey can do it, not quite like he can, but he's just allowed us to mix some things up and move some people around and get better matchups for our team.
When you go back to the offseason and you sort of conceived what you wanted this team to be defensively and what you had to tweak and things you had to implement, what was your kind of goal for what you wanted this team to be defensively?
Right. Well, we started right away with, just trying to load up in those ISO ball screens and try to give more help. And then we've really tried to load up in when you try to post us up. And so our details of what we were doing, we thought would take some time, and it did. And we're much better in those situations, in those scenarios, than we are. We've just kept improving, but we've also stayed with it. I think a lot of times when people struggle in some things, they think change is the only answer, when in reality, you just got to keep getting better at what you're doing. You just got to be better in your system and your stuff. But those aren't any different than what we've done. We've really stolen the baseline double from Nebraska.
Yeah.
That's probably given us the hardest. Indiana did it a little. I think Indiana did it a year ago or 2 years ago. Yeah, Iowa State does it, but they're very, very aggressive, and we're not as aggressive. They if you try to post up at 20 feet, Iowa State's going to double you. We're not going to double you at 20 feet. I just didn't like, even though one of our assistants was trying to get me to do it. I just think that lengthens our rotations. I'd rather them get more in that kill spot when they dribble down into that 10, 12, 15 feet area, or if they catch it deep, go immediately, because then it shortens our rotations. And that's just something we worked on from day one. But we've done it in the past. We just didn't consistently do it.
You did against NC State last year, didn't you?
Correct. Yeah. But we did it during the year. We did it against Maryland. I think the first time. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but we actually got it because Indiana did it against Maryland. And then Nebraska's always done. Nebraska does it. Iowa State does it every game, no matter who they play. And so we were more scout specific in last year doing it. And something you might see us not do it for 2 to 3 weeks. Then you might see us do it every game for 2 to 3 weeks. Where this year we've done it every game. And then sometimes are they really post up whatever? But I just felt like if we're going to play a little bit smaller. And we had to do something to protect, but we also didn't want our old-fashioned double where they had an easier pass to the middle of the floor. We wanted to take that away and then come with the double on the baseline, and we thought that'd be more beneficial.
We've heard you say 1,000 times that everybody's got to stay connected defensively, but are
Yes.
you just kind of letting Braden just use his instincts?
No, he's connected there. He has rules to what he does, when he's the low man or he's the out man. It's a read. It's just a read, and he's great at it. But like, he isn't always there. You know, something you can't dictate once you get into it where people can be, because you don't know. Like, you know, someone's got 30 different plays. Like, but if somebody runs the same play over and over and over, we can dictate that. But I can't dictate it on 30 different plays.
You mentioned a lot of guys at this point are beat up, banged up.
Yeah.
How much value is there in throwing multiple guys at the guy bringing the ball up? Fresher guys.
Yeah, there's value. I think at times you're getting a lot done and you're wearing him down, kind of like a boxing match, where you know, maybe he's not going to make as many shots later in the game, or you can force some turnovers there. Then at times I think you feel like you're getting something done and it doesn't bother somebody. Sometimes those guys have unbelievable endurance. They can just keep going and going, and you know, it's all the great lead guards we got in our league. Like, Shellstad's a very good player. Like, we just tried to make it hard for him. I don't know if we did or we didn't, but I thought our effort was great, and we just got to keep doing that. We have all the respect in the world for Bruce Thornton, and we know how talented he is. He scored 30 on Kentucky. You know, we recruited him. We put a lot of time into him, so we have a lot of respect for him. And you give your best, man. You know, I think that's more than anything. Like, sometimes you disrupt, sometimes you don't, but just keep being solid and keep showing up and doing your job.